Let me ask you something simple. What time is it right now? Not on your phone. Right now. This moment. The present. The instant you call now. You think that is the most obvious thing in the world. You're living inside it. You're experiencing it right now. Here's what physics says. It does not exist. Not as a universal moment shared by everything in the universe. Not in relativity. Not in quantum mechanics. Not in any equation we have ever written. The present moment is not a feature of the universe, it is a feature of you. Let me show you why. Before Isaac Newton, the universe was a confusing and inconsistent place. Different clocks in different cities ran at slightly different times. There was no global agreement on what time it was anywhere. The stars moved according to rules that felt almost arbitrary, and nobody had a coherent framework for understanding why any of it worked the way it did. Then Newton arrived. And with him came something that felt for the first time like an actual description of reality. His laws of motion, his theory of gravity, his absolute space and absolute time. The idea that the universe exists inside a fixed eternal universal framework, a single cosmic stage on which all events unfold simultaneously, a single tick of a universal clock that measures the same moment for every particle, every person, every galaxy, everywhere in Newton's universe. Now is now the same now for everything, the same present moment shared by every atom in existence. The universe has a single, objective, universal present. It moves through time like a photograph, changing from one instant to the next, a single global snapshot of reality, updating uniformly for everything that exists. This felt so obviously correct that for more than 200 years, no serious physicist questioned it. Then Albert Einstein arrived, and with him came the destruction of everything Newton had built about time. In 1905, Einstein published his special theory of relativity, a paper so revolutionary that its consequences are still being fully worked out more than 100 years later. The central insight was simple to state and almost impossible to absorb. The speed of light is the same for every observer, regardless of how fast they are moving relative to each other. This sounds like a minor technical point. It is not. It is the thread that, when pulled, unravels the entire Newtonian picture of time. Here's why. Imagine two observers. One is standing still on a railway platform. The other is moving past on a train at a significant fraction of the speed of light. A lightning bolt strikes both ends of the train simultaneously, or at least that is what the person on the platform measures. Both flashes of light travel toward the platform observer from equal distances. They arrive at the same moment. The strikes were simultaneous, but the person on the train measures something completely different, because the train is moving forward. The observer on the train is moving toward one flash of light and away from the other. Since the speed of light is the same in all directions, regardless of the observer's motion, the flash from the front of the train reaches the train observer before the flash from the back. The strikes were not simultaneous. One happened before the other, same two events, same physical universe, two completely irreconcilable accounts of which came first. Relativity tells us that there is no absolute or unique global now. In special relativity, every inertial reference frame has its own now, but this set of simultaneous events does not form a global now for other reference frames. This is not a measurement error. It is not a limitation of the observer's instruments. It is not a consequence of the finite travel time of signals that could be corrected for. It is a fundamental feature of the structure of space-time itself. According to the relativity of simultaneity, observers in different frames of reference can have different measurements of whether a given pair of events happened at the same time or at different times, with there being no physical basis for preferring one frame's judgments over those of another. There's no privileged frame. There's no observer whose account of simultaneity is more correct than any other. The platform observer is right. The train observer is right, and they disagree completely about which events are happening right now. If there is no universal agreement about which events are simultaneous, if now means something different for every observer moving at a different velocity, then there is no universal present moment. There is no single slice of reality that corresponds to now for the universe as a whole. The present moment, as Newton imagined it, does not exist. Now, I want you to feel the full weight of what this means, because it is easy to hear this and dismiss it as an abstract philosophical point about moving trains and light signals, something that might matter in thought experiments, but has no real bearing on everyday life. But this is not abstract. This has been measured. This has been confirmed experimentally thousands of times with extraordinary precision. GPS satellites orbit the Earth at speeds of roughly 14,000 kilometers per hour. At those speeds, the effect of special relativity causes the satellite clocks to run slow relative to clocks on the ground by about 7 microseconds per day. Simultaneously, and here the irony is almost too perfect, the weaker gravitational field at the satellite's altitude causes their clocks to run fast relative to ground clocks by about 45 microseconds per day, a consequence of general relativity. Both effects are real, both are measured, both are corrected for in the GPS system every single day. Without those corrections, the accumulated errors in position measurements would grow at a rate of roughly 10 kilometers per day. Every map application on every phone in the world depends on correcting for the fact that time runs differently in different gravitational fields and at different velocities. This is not a theory. This is engineering. This is how the world actually works. The clocks on the satellites are not running at the same rate as the clocks in your pocket. They are not experiencing the same present moment, and they are barely moving compared to the speeds at which the effects of special relativity become truly dramatic. Time runs differently for objects moving at different speeds and sitting in different gravitational fields. There is no universal rate. There is no universal now. The present moment is not a feature of the universe. It is a local, personal, observer-dependent construction. But the consequences of relativity go even deeper than this, far deeper. Deep enough that they suggest something about time that is genuinely difficult to hold in the mind without the mathematics collapsing the intuition entirely. In 1908, 3 years after Einstein published Special Relativity, the German mathematician Hermann Minkowski gave a lecture that began with a sentence that should have shattered the way every physicist thought about reality. He said, "Henceforth space by itself and time by itself are doomed to fade away into mere shadows, and only a kind of union of the two will preserve an independent reality." What Minkowski had done was take Einstein's equations and show their geometrical meaning. Space and time are not two separate things. They are two aspects of a single four-dimensional structure, space-time. And in this four-dimensional structure, all events, past, present, and future, exist as fixed points, unchanging, eternal, already there. This is what physicists call the block universe. The relativity of simultaneity implies a block universe, the co-reality or coexistence of the past, present, and future. In the block universe picture, the universe does not evolve through time the way a film moves through a projector, one frame at a time, the present moment advancing from past to future. The universe simply is a four-dimensional structure in which every event that has ever happened or will ever happen already exists as a fixed coordinate in space-time. Your birth is there, fixed, unchanging, existing as a point in the four-dimensional geometry of space-time. Your death is there already existing, already determined, already a fixed coordinate in the block. The moment you're experiencing right now is there. But so is the moment 5 minutes from now. So is every moment of the entire history of the universe, from the Big Bang to the heat death. All of it exists simultaneously in the four-dimensional structure of space-time. The feeling that time flows, the sense that the present moment is special, that it is the only moment that is real, that past moments are gone and future moments have not yet arrived. That feeling is not a feature of the universe. It is a feature of consciousness moving through the block. It is how the four-dimensional geometry of space-time feels from the inside. In this picture, space and time are coordinates of one fabric, and all events, past, present, and future, are equally real. A human life is not a sequence of moments passing, but a world line stretching across the block. The universe is a frozen totality. At this point, I want to address the question that every thoughtful person asks when they first encounter this picture. If the block universe is real, if past and future are equally real as fixed coordinates in four-dimensional space-time, then why do we experience time as flowing? Why does it feel like the present moment is special? Why do we have memories of the past and not of the future? Why does everything in our experience suggest that time moves from past to future and not the other way around? The answer to these questions lives in thermodynamics, specifically in the concept of entropy and what physicists call the arrow of time. In the equations of physics, in Newton's laws, in Maxwell's equations for electromagnetism, in Einstein's equations for gravity, in Schrodinger's equation for quantum mechanics, there's no preferred direction of time. The equations work equally well, run forward and run backward. A film of two billiard balls colliding and bouncing apart looks physically correct whether you play it forward or in reverse. The laws of physics do not distinguish between past and future at the fundamental level, and yet we experience time as having a direction. Fires burn forward, eggs break, but do not spontaneously reassemble. People age in one direction. Memories accumulate from the past, not the future. Everything in our experience has a clear temporal direction. Where does this asymmetry come from? If the fundamental laws are symmetric, it comes from entropy, from the second law of thermodynamics. The law that says the total disorder of an isolated system never decreases. The reason we experience time moving forward is not that the laws of physics require it. It is that we started in an extraordinarily low entropy state. The universe immediately after the Big Bang was in a state of almost incomprehensible order and low entropy. Since then, entropy has been increasing, spreading, distributing, moving relentlessly toward greater disorder. And because entropy increases in one direction of time, because the past was lower entropy and the future is higher entropy, we have a way of distinguishing the two. Memories are records of low entropy past states. The direction in which entropy increases is the direction we call forward. The block cannot generate the asymmetry we inhabit every moment. The block universe itself is symmetric. Past and future are equally real. But within the block, entropy defines a direction. And that direction is what we experience as the flow of time. The flow of time is not a feature of space-time, it is a feature of thermodynamics. It is what the increase of entropy feels like from the inside. Now, here is where the argument about the present moment becomes most unsettling. Take two people standing next to each other in the same room. Call them Alice and Bob. From our ordinary perspective, they share the same present moment. They are both here, now, in this room, at this instant. But suppose Alice starts moving even very slowly, even at walking speed. In special relativity, the relativity of simultaneity means that Alice's surface of simultaneity, the set of events she considers to be happening right now, is tilted relative to Bob's surface of simultaneity. At walking speed, the tilt is so small as to be completely undetectable. The events they each consider to be simultaneous differ by an amount far too small to measure, but now extend this across cosmic distances. The Andromeda Galaxy is approximately 2.5 million light-years away. At walking speed, just a few kilometers per hour, Alice's surface of simultaneity extended across that distance, since he's tilted by enough that what Alice considers to be happening right now in Andromeda differs from what Bob considers to be happening right now in Andromeda by approximately 10,000 years. Alice and Bob are standing next to each other. They are moving at walking speed relative to each other, and they disagree about what is happening right now in Andromeda by 10,000 years. If everything exists that Bob calls simultaneous, but there's nothing special about Bob, then everything that Alice calls simultaneous exists the same way. Both are right, neither is more correct than the other. The events in Andromeda that Alice calls now, and the events that Bob calls now, are equally real. The present moment is not a single slice cutting through the universe. It is an observer-dependent construction that changes with velocity and extends differently across cosmic distances. The present moment you are experiencing right now is real for you, but it does not correspond to any objective universal feature of the universe. The universe does not have a present. It has a four-dimensional geometry in which every observer carves out their own personal slice and calls it now. I want to address something directly at this point, because the block universe picture, while it follows mathematically from special relativity, is not without serious challenges, and I think intellectual honesty requires acknowledging them. The most serious challenge comes from quantum mechanics. In the standard account of quantum mechanics, there's a process called wave function collapse. When you make a measurement on a quantum system, the probability wave describing all its possible states collapses to a single definite outcome. This collapse happens at a specific moment. It introduces a genuine asymmetry between before and after the measurement, the definite past and the indefinite future. The indefinite future becomes the definite past as wave function collapse takes place. This happens all the time everywhere. It is the core of the local flow of time. If wave function collapse is real, if it is a genuine physical process and not just a feature of our description, then time might have a genuine direction built into quantum mechanics that the block universe picture misses. The future might genuinely be open and indefinite in a way the past is not. The honest answer is that we do not know. The interpretation of quantum mechanics, What wave function collapse actually is, whether it represents a real physical process or just an update in our information, remains one of the deepest unresolved questions in physics. Different interpretations give different answers, and the answer matters enormously for whether the block universe picture is complete. Some physicists argue that certain quantum mechanical experiments challenge the mainstream block universe model and support the existence of an objective passage of time. The physics here is genuinely contested, and I think any honest account of the present moment in physics has to acknowledge that the block universe, while strongly suggested by special relativity, may not be the final word. Quantum gravity, the theory we do not yet fully have, the theory that unifies quantum mechanics and general relativity, may change the picture in ways we cannot currently predict. But here is what I'm confident about. Here is what the physics firmly establishes, regardless of how the deeper questions are resolved. The Newtonian picture of a universal present moment, a single global now shared by every particle and every observer in the universe, is definitively, demonstrably, experimentally wrong. Special relativity eliminated it. The GPS satellites confirm its absence every day. The universe does not have a universal present moment. It does not have a universal clock. It does not have a single global. Now the present moment you experience is real. It is your personal, local, observer-dependent slice of the four-dimensional structure of space-time. It is constructed by your position, your velocity, your gravitational environment. It belongs to you. It does not belong to the universe. The universe does not experience now, only you do. And underneath that deeply strange fact is something even stranger. If the block universe is right, if past and future are equally real as fixed coordinates in space-time, then the present moment is not the only real moment. The moment you were born is equally real. The moment you will die is equally real. Every moment of your life exists simultaneously in the four-dimensional structure of space-time, not sequentially, not one after another, all at once. Your life is not a sequence, it is a shape. A four-dimensional object stretched across space-time, complete already there. The you who is 10 years older is not waiting in a future that has not yet arrived. In the block universe, that version of you already exists. At a different coordinate in the four-dimensional geometry of space-time, the present moment may not exist as an objective feature of the universe, but you, your entire life, every moment of it, may already be complete. Think about that. The universe is not becoming. It simply is. And everything you have ever experienced, everything you will ever experience, is already written into the geometry of space-time, a fixed four-dimensional structure that contains all of it simultaneously forever. The present moment feels like the only real thing in existence. Physics says it might be the least fundamental thing of all.